The April meeting of the Sandusky River Valley Beekeepers. I'll tell you, after you go back about 3 weeks, you know, we had those 70-degree days, upper 60s. I was seeing out on Ohio Beekeepers, people was telling us, you gotta get in your hives and check and see how much cat fruit you've got. Well, I'm gonna tell you, we've had 3 weeks of nothing but cold, rain, and wind. So I still live by the adage, until we get to 60 degrees, you're better off to stay out of them. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. And just so you remember, we do have folks on the Zoom call. How many we got tonight? 7. We got seven of our members on Zoom tonight. And we're gonna start out with our March meeting minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and have Sue go over those with us, and then we'll approve them.
Thank you. Oh, yep. All right, the minutes from the March 4th, 2024 Sandusky River Valley Beekeepers Association held at the First United Methodist Church in Clyde, Ohio. Prior to the meeting, members gathered for a chili supper and socialization at 6:30 p.m. The meeting opened at 7 p.m. with President Gary Wiley presiding. 52 members were present, with 5 additional members joining on Zoom. There were no guests. The February minutes were read. Chris Renard motioned that the minutes be accepted as read. Rob Vasquez seconded the motion. The motion was carried. The treasurer's report stated that there is $5,484.47 in the checking account and $25 in the savings account. The report was placed on file for audit. Announcements. Dues are now due. Beekeeper class update. February 24th class hosted 27 people. The March class currently has 34 people registered. We are considering hosting a class in the fall with extra materials on hand. Earth Day is Saturday, April 20th at the Erie County Metro Parks. We can host a table from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're looking for volunteers to assist in sharing educational materials with visitors. Erie. OSB update by Chris. Only OSBA members will be able to access program videos on YouTube now, which includes traveling speaker presentation. The fall conference is April 25th and 26th at Central University in Virginia. Reminder to register your apiary with the state. $5 fee per apiary. Registered apiary. Okay, apparently that's not a word for me tonight. They will receive an inspection. Sandusky County Inspector and Club Member Barrett Zimmerman. Our guest speaker, Barbara Blacksher, retired from the Ohio Department of Agriculture, spoke to the group about nosema, dysentery in bees. There is a common spring nosema, which often clears by itself as the bees diet becomes regulated. Nosema ceranae occurs later in the season. It's very difficult to resolve. Gary adjourned the meeting at 8 p.m.
Thank you. Do we have any additions to the minutes from the March meeting? Any additions? Can I have a motion to approve those minutes? Doug Ritchie making a motion to approve it. Do I have a second? Dennis. Thank you. And now we want to do the treasurer report.
Okay, as you heard, our balance starting out for this month was $5,484.47. We brought in for receipts $680 that included dues and class registrations. And then we had $552.06 in expenses that included last month's speaker, food for the B class, advertisement through the Hub newspaper for the class, and Sam's Club for some April snacks here in the rental room for tonight. So the new checking balance is $5,612.41. We have $25 sitting in the savings. So the total is $5,637.41. Now, one thing I would like to recommend, but it's going to be a club decision here. The bulk of the money is in a checking account. We do have a debit card. We do not have a credit card. So as we know, in today's society, when we order something online, we are at risk with that debit card. So what we'd like to do is transfer some money over into the savings. Savings right now is at 0.15%. So the amount that we'd like to, is gonna be up to the club. I did a little bit of math. If we move 3,000, that would leave 2,600 in the checking. If we were to move 4,000 over to savings, that would leave 1,600 in the checking. So that's basically my recommendation.
Yeah, and let me just say something about this. We had a meeting with the bank when we transitioned treasurers. And one of the concerns that banks have with debit cards is those cards' ability to reach right into your checking account if there's some kind of fraud or something. And so even the person at the bank thought it would be a good idea if we used our savings account for some of our money to, just in case. And even though the money's insured and everything, it would cause us a problem if we ever got hacked or somebody stole our card number. So what I'm proposing is that I'd like to see us put $4,000 of our money into our savings account. If we need to get money back, we could always go and move it. But I think it would, for us, from a security standpoint, it would make good sense to put some of our money, I'm recommending $4,000 into our savings account from our checking account.
The one thing just to understand about the regular checking is what we have. The $25 is not creating any interest for us. That doesn't happen until we have $100 in the account. So once there's 100, obviously if we move 4,000, we'll definitely be over that to start generating the interest.
Do we have any comments on that? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
All right, can I make a motion that we go ahead and move $4,000 from our checking over into our savings? Can I have a motion that would be what we want to do? Kathleen and
Second.
right back here, Mike. I was looking at Mike and I was thinking Tom Rathman and I just, sorry about that, Mike.
Do we have a club vote, please?
All in favor of us going ahead and making this transaction, say aye. Any opposed? All right, it's carried.
Tom's on the Zoom call too.
Tom's on the Zoom call. Oh, my goodness. Hey, so as Kim, or as we said last month, the 2024 dues are due right now. Earlier this week, we checked and we still have like 56 people on our list who is not paid for the year. And so what our bylaws requires me to do, I'm going to send out an email to anybody who hasn't paid their dues for the year. And then we go ahead and update the roster for everybody that's current. And so this next week, I'm going to go ahead and take those actions. And I'm sure we'll get, what usually happens when I send that email out, I get a bunch of people sending in their dues saying, my gosh, thank you for reminding me. So, but I want to let you know I'm going to be doing that. Also, the March 9th beekeeper class was completed, and I see a few of our new members in here. Welcome. We love having you. Hey, what I will tell you about classes, we have 12 books left over that we purchased for our first two classes. So we had talked about having a late season beekeeper class. I've had one person indicate that they're interested in that. I would limit it probably to the 12 handouts that we've got. But you know, as of right now, I don't see any reason to not have a class, but we'll just see what the interest is. Because I can see us doing that if there's an interest. Also for Earth Day, so you know that's coming up on April the 20th. So far, I have not received any feedback that anyone is interested in helping out with that. So if I don't get anybody that's interested, then we probably won't do it. I mean, John does it. But, so I'll just wait and see. I'd like to hear something in the next week or so. So if somebody's interested, like I said, we set tables up out there and hand out bee literature, give all the kids stickers, and it's kind of a lot of fun. One year I got sunburnt in April, hard to believe, but it did happen. Hey, and now I want to move on to, the most exciting part of our night. Tonight we got Jamie Walters with us. Jamie is the president of OSBA. And he's going to be presenting a topic tonight, marketing your honey. A little about this topic. When we put out feelers back last year about, hey, what's all these, what topics would you like to hear? And I included all the ones from the traveling speaker program and all the feedback I had gotten. And this marketing your honey came back as our #1 hit from our membership that said, you know what, this is a topic I'd like to hear about.
I better not flub this one up.
And so with that, I want to welcome Jamie Walters. Give him a hand. He made a long drive to get here.
Pressure's on now.
Good evening, everybody.
You guys know me from the past. I like audience participation. So when I ask for something, you give me what? Feedback. Feedback, answers, all right. So yes, I am the president for the next 2 years. If you guys like me, I stick around for another 2 if my wife will let me. Other than that, you can take a big sucker, put it around my head. Yes, I said yes to being the president of OSBA. Huge responsibility. So who in here right now is an OSBA member? Okay. Who are newbies? Did the newbies receive your Hive Digest in the email? Did you like it? Part of OSBA. Tonight, the traveling speakers, OSBA. So if you find some good in OSBA, a cup of your Big Joe that you put the frou-frou stuff in, you go to Big B's or wherever, it's about 15, 20 bucks. There's your membership for OSBA. Save yourself a coffee, get yourself a membership. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about marketing your honey, and there's a lot of stuff in this. And if you really want to get into some background, you can have a lot of fun and make yourself a nice client list, a nice client where people know where they get your stuff, and they can look at your label and know instantly that it's yours. Know the value of your honey. Don't just go out and buy honey or undercut somebody because someone's got it at 10. You want to make some sales, you want to make it at 8 or 7 or 6. Think about how much time, even though you might be retired or you're doing this in your free time, your time is worth money. Did anything get cheaper in beekeeping over the last couple of years? Woodware, chemicals, bees, nukes. I just got back from doing SEMBA. I've done a talk up in SEMBA for their conference. Nukes up there going for $240 a piece. And you've seen packages went up what? Another 10, 15 bucks. So it's the only beekeeping is not a cheap hobby. Share the information with your customers. Who makes a little infomercial or a little flyer of what's the benefits, health benefits of honey? Talking to your clients when you turn around and say, hey, what's the honey do other than you have the best honey in the world? But the next season, do you have the same honey? No, but you still have the best honey in the world, don't you? Why do they come to you? Because you're friendly, you have a good marketing strategy, or your market. Who sells cut comb? Ah, there's a huge market for you right there. So knowing your customer base, we used to take cut comb and I used to put it in little tiny Dixie cups and give it to kids, and they're like, oh, this is awful. But the older generation in here, who remembers eating the wax lips?
Yeah.
And you crunched it, and it turned into what? 4 bands of bubble gum. Knowing your market. And don't undersell yourself. You know, if we all turn on, keep undercutting each other, then all of a sudden honey goes for a buck and a quarter a pound. You know, it's kind of like me. I take my honey and I sell it for $10 a pound. If I take it to Stony Ridge Winery, she sells it for $20 a pound. What's the difference? They're at a winery. And the people sipping wine, what do? Oh, you have the best taste in honey. Okay. So just knowing your market. FOA.org. Tons of things in here. Talks about the properties of the food. Breaks everything down as far as honey itself. When I talk about honey, don't ever go out and say, yes, for me, honey got rid of my allergies. I had hay fever from second grade all the way up to I was about 32, 33. And I got 2 shots a week in the back of the arms. Back of my arms are numb. In fact, I got a tattoo one time. My brother goes, well, why aren't you crying? They're numb. It's absolutely numb. Kept bees with White Wilson for over 5 years. All of a sudden, all my hay fever disappeared, but I can't put that on a label. You know, you can't go in there and say it does this or it does that without proof. So this goes into the mead, goes into wine liqueurs, contamination, breaks down all the stuff. If you don't understand what you're selling and all the health benefits of it, and all the stuff that it does, go to that website, FOA.org. The facts of beekeeping, the National Institute of Health. If you have facts that the medical board, and I know I'm going to say I'm going to play 2 sides of this to the devil's advocate. Who believes in honey that it does all kinds of great things for you? That's why we're beekeepers, right? But we can't go out and put that on the label because they want proof and statistics, so we're here. So if you have the proof, go to NIH.org, National Institute of Health, and it talks about all the other things. Putting honey on a cut. If you have a elongated cut, slashing your leg, I'm not talking deep, but a cut, put honey on half of it, Neosporin on the other half. What happens to run and heal over twice as fast? With honey, with raw honey every time. But there's a science behind it, they'll have it on here. And then talk about that with your clients, talk about that to your customers. The New Honey Revolution. Peggy Garden's got that book. I read it after that. Tons of things, and it's all research based. It's things that you can put on a flyer, in a page, on your website, in a Facebook post. Who does the social media stuff? I can always tell the younger generation does. But why do you turn around and who gets ribbons? Who shows their honey gets ribbons? Do you do your social media and put that ribbon in that picture? Absolutely. Why don't you? Okay. But I will say this, and not just because he's my friend. Roger Myers is in Maumee Valley Bee Club. And we went to different shows and he kept winning these ribbons and winning all kinds of wax. And we went down to Hive Life and he won some ribbons and he goes, I just throw them in the cupboard. I said, give me the ribbons, give me some of your stuff. Let me take pictures of it. And we're just going to turn around, put it in the background. We're not going to put it up key, put your product with the thing. Why do people associate blue and red ribbons with a superior product? Because they see it better. They know it's better. So put it in the background a little bit, off key that you have a superior product. Raw honey. Glucose and fructose breaks down in the small intestine and kicks out the glycogen in the liver. So when people say, what? I'm diabetic, I can't eat honey. Yeah, still use your meter. Don't turn around and go, oh yeah, eat 1.5 pounds of honey and then see what your level comes out to. But it is safe for diabetics. But they still have to monitor their insulin and still monitor their levels. They can't go. I had a guy one time buy like 4 pounds of cut comb. It was all the edge junk. And he goes, hey, he says, can I buy that whole tray from you? And I said, $10, take it. He took it, went home and called me like 2 days later. He goes, can I buy some more? I said, did you sell it? No, I ate it. I'm like, you ate over 5 pounds of cut comb? He goes, I remember it in the Depression. It was the sweetest thing on the dinner table because during the Depression, They had the sugar tickets or the sugar stuff, and there was no sweets. So that's what he ate. And he says, I sit down and watch a movie or watch a Western, and I didn't eat it by the handful. And I'm thinking, that's really good till it's coming up the other side and blocks of wax. So understanding your product of how, what it does to the person and how it digests into your body. Who has ever taken honey at night? 2 spoonfuls at night, restless leg syndrome. There's science behind it. So if you have restless leg at night, 2 spoonfuls at night. Exercising. My nephew, he works for, he started out in AAA as an umpire, now he's up to
He's in the majors.
majors now.
MLB.
All the people that are on it, every sports person takes pollen, honey, it makes what? Bee bread or swelled up bee bread, puts it in straw and eats it. It's a carb, it's a natural high that is not like cheap sugar that you're gonna get the high from, is like eating a Snickers. Who remembers Jolt back in the day? I went to high school, ate a Snickers and 2 cans of Jolt. Sugar high, then the crash. Honey does not have that crash to it. It instantly hits your body and it brings you up to a high and it levels off and then levels back down. So you're not gonna have that. Blood sugar, it's not gonna, you're not gonna get that spike. Stress, I can't say sugar has ever taken the stress off of me, but I do feel better when I eat honey, knowing it's from my bees. There's all kinds of information in that book that I was talking about with Peggy about your heart and your blood sugar on top of that. Medical wounds. There's actually, there's nurses in here, any nurses? Do you remember a patch that had honey in it? What was it called? Okay, it was med something, yeah. They kind of went away with it, but overseas is absolutely the everything in kind of wound care. Because it has raw honey in it. But what it does, anything in that, it breaks down the lymph fluid, it comes up. It's not, you'll never see honey make a hard scab. Like if you get a cut and it makes a hard scab, honey will keep it, it'll keep it soft. And you'll actually see that skin start to stitch right together. It'll be red in between, but you'll see that skin start to stitch right across, just like its own stitches. And that's what honey does for it, and it keeps it sterile. So how can you tell your clients? I can take honey, I can put it on a counter, I can put it out there and it'll never grow mold, never get what? Tell me what else about honey? It's acidic, never grow mold, what else? And it'll never go bad. So what I always tell people, I can put this pound of honey into a cupboard for my great granddaughter. And what? She warms it back up. Does she stick it in the microwave? No. Nope. Puts it in a double boiler, warms it back up, and she's got honey. Who remembers, I just want to say his name. Howard Carter. Howard Carter found who? Big Tut. And what does he say in his book? They found a clay eber, which is a clay pot that had crystallized honey in it. At that night, they took a little part of it, put it by the fire, and ate honey from when? King Tut, 3,000 plus years ago. Soothes the throat. Who's ever taken honey, one of that or cinnamon and mixed cinnamon in with it? Sore throats. How quick does it soothe your throat? Within days. It kicks it. Who bakes and cooks with it? Between myself, my wife, my daughter, my granddaughter, we probably go through a 5-gallon bucket. Anything you want to put sugar into, knowing how much dry sugar to liquid honey is a different thing, because all of a sudden you got things that look slimy and that taste good. But why? You put too much honey into it. So you have to you have to cut some of your fluids out. But understanding you can make a whole recipe book for your clients, for your customers, and talk about that. I even know some clubs that have put together a nice recipe book and sold it for benefits on that. Honey for allergies. Even though I believe in this 100%. When I used to walk in fields of ragweed with Dwight Wilson, my second year, Dwight said, come out in the bee yard with me. And I said, it's August, the goldenrod's coming up. I'm not going. So we walked in the field and instantly snotted. I mean, everybody know where they get the crusty eye, snot growing, and you got the whole handkerchief. and it's seeping into your butt cheek when it's nice and wet. And you got another handkerchief over here to get that one ready. That's the way I used to be. Then I'd have to sleep, and this is no joke. Ask my wife. We had a vent that had central air. I would sleep on the floor and take a sheet and cover it up and make an oxygen tank. And that's how I would sleep for the night to get through the next day. But my second year of beekeeping with Dwight, Dwight's like, hey, you're doing a little bit better. We're getting in the middle of August into September. My third and fourth year, we were walking in fields of ragweed as he was walking, and it's dusted in the air. Didn't bother me a bit, but I know if I have not eaten my honey, my pollen, and getting stung enough, that my wife can tell, because all of a sudden I'm getting snotty or I'm getting congested. And she goes, you haven't been eating a lot of honey, have you? No. So for me, 100%. But they say most of it anecdotal, it's all in your head, which I'm a little fruitcake anyhow, so it might be part of that. But if it works for you, at least be honest with them. For me, why do I wear a copper bracelet for the older generation? Bingo. But for people that the younger generation, they're like, oh, you just wear it to look nice. Yeah, I do that too. But if I take it off, I had a nurse one time tell me, I think it's all in your head. I said, okay, I'll take it off. You wear it for a week. So she ended up keeping it a month, and she goes, oh, I love this. I flip these people over at the bed, I'm feeling better, and da 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 da. And here I am. Cheryl, could you come over to the house? And as soon as she walked in, I'm like, give me your wrist. I said, I want my bracelet back. It's not in your head when you feel the pain. Honey extracting is done. When we talk that metal strainer, that is what? I want your feedback on this. Would you consider that raw honey? Okay. There are still people out there that want to see the bee legs and the bee parts in there to know that it's raw. I had a 90-year-old lady ask me in Dwight Wilson one time, she goes, I need honey from Defiance. And Dwight goes, well, Jamie sells it. So I took her a quart of honey. She goes, that's not raw honey. Like, my mentor Dwight said it was. She goes, I'm telling you it's not. I want to see the bee wings and stuff in it. Okie dokie. So as soon as it come out of the spinner, instantly right into it, she bought it up like crazy until she passed away. Knowing when you talk, that you're explaining what it's doing and what it's doing, or what it's filtering. So when you say the metal strainer, for 90% of us in this room, that is filtering what? Crust, the bee wax, the big chunks, but it's still, when you hold that thing of honey up, it looks what? Sparkly. So when I tell people, you know, you can come up with your own slogan with this. When you go into Kmart, Walmart, big box stores, and you hold that honey up, what's it look like? Crystal clear. Because it's what? Or fructose and everything else, but it's not honey. Honey, even if you don't want to be a beekeeper, how many people in your first quart of honey, your first jar, how much did you have invested? 1,000? 500? Who jumped into beekeeping with both feet? 15,000, 20,000? I probably had a good 40,000 cleared because I bought into a bunch of stuff and I wanted to be commercial. Dwight's like, you're nuts. I had money, and my bee money paid for more bee stuff and more bee stuff. But understanding your market and understanding what you're doing here to convey that. And the best honey, if you're not going to get into beekeeping, I actually scare people out of the one-day class. I always have to do, as the inspector, I do the disease and the pest and disease talk. I do it right before lunch. And you'll see the people at the end that take all their stuff and like, well, this ain't for me. I'm like, at least take your stuff and buy your honey from a real beekeeper. When you can go to that person, I wish we all had jars and we could see what you pick. Because they're like, it's easy. Here's a jar, you go get your honey out of it.
I got a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
Are you single straining it or doing the double strain?
Single strain or double strain.
Well, that's a double, right?
Yeah, that's a double.
'Cause that
If
takes
you
out-
take the inner pot out.
Right.
You're just stopping the big chunks.
And you think that's popular doing it that way?
It depends on your market. Okay, your market or the people that you market it to are the people that you're gonna turn around and get, you know, constant sales from. I have a girl that from the first year, I've been doing this now for over 18 years. Amy Grove buys a 1 quart container for me every month. I don't even put a label on it anymore. I said, I'll save you 50 cents, I don't have to put the label. But she, every month, boom, 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 but she runs triathlons and does all kinds of stuff. The younger generation, feed them creamed honey, what do? Who loves creamed honey? Who likes taking burr comb underneath your veal and, that's the best. But knowing your market, what you can sell, you know, if you're into an area where you got kids, the honey straws and things like that. Test your market by buying a little bit or diversifying your bee operation and doing a little bit of cut comb. Check it with your clients. Hey, I got little samples. What do you like? All of a sudden that becomes a thing. Or your flavored honey. Or you're starting getting into infused honey. Or you get into Ross rounds. So by checking your market and what you can diversify into and what you can get into, might open you up to a whole new market that you never knew that was there. People that are really health conscious, all of a sudden there's been this crazy buzz about pollen. Who tracks pollen? How easy is it to track pollen? Sundance on the bottom, but you have to be absolute religious to collecting that pollen every night. Pull it out, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in your freezer, pull it out each time. Boom, 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 boom. You can collect, you can actually starve your bees to death. And then there comes in all kinds of things, collecting for 3 days for yourself, 3 days for the bees, 3 days for yourself, 3 days for the bees. You might find a whole new market in that. Pollen for a little jar, 18 bucks. A lot of honey to uncover that. But if you find the right market for it. Raw honey, wildflower honey, local honey, Ohio honey, spring, summer, fall honey, your last name. Everybody's got their own honey, correct? Make a niche for what you want in it. You can't run unless you go to Ohio State or Purdue or somewhere and spin your honey off and say, oh yes, it's basswood. But who all knows what basswood tastes like? Sweet taste, and it tastes like spearmint gum in the kick in the rear end. Spearmint gum. That's what you know what basswood or American linden. Who knows what buckwheat honey? Oh, I could eat a 5-gallon bucket of it if I could. But it's practically brown, almost chocolate black. But you put that on hot butter bread, or you put it on a pork chop. Oh, you're like a fat kid in a candy store. Raw honey, but knowing what you're going to sell, have that same niche. Okay. So are you a beekeeper that you're going to pull your honey once a year and you're going to call it Ohio honey or a wildflower honey? Or are you going to pull it different times because you got a smaller operation where you can spin out a few frames and pull it out 2 or 3 times and you get that bouquet or that different flavor and smell? Let your clients know honey is no different than wine, no different than beer. Why do honey people, or let's say, take a step back. Why do wine people? Sweet, semi-sweet, dry. Our honey's the same way. And let them know that. Local honey, so you got the rules for naming. Whoever hears of the one I hate the most. Just want to say it. I'll think of it here in a second.
His name's Mike.
No. Trying to think of the name. Or not homogenized. No. No. It means there's nothing in it. No. Organic honey. Okay. I'm gonna jump on my soapbox on this. Organic honey. I've had people try to sell it. I had a guy in Defiance go ahead and he's around, sold tons of it up down to Defiance. Everybody's like, you're the bee inspector. What do you think of this organic honey? Do you control 20 square miles without anybody spraying, pesticides, herbicides, road ditch runoff, or anything else? No. Now, there's things you can do to cut down on your pesticide, herbicides, and things like that by talking to your neighbors, talking to the farmers, putting your honey, and maybe you don't use formic and all the other stuff. Maybe you use the green drone coat and you do other things, cultural methods. But don't go out and say, yes, I have organic honey, when you know darn well you can't control 20 square miles. Few of the other terms is raw, filtered, and filtered. Knowing, I've seen people use the old paint, the paint things with like 200 micron. Now you're talking about, you're getting all the wax and stuff out of it. Processed could mean a couple different things depending on who you are. Did you process it through your honey house? I've heard people say that. Did you process it through filtering? Did you filter it this time to get it through the filter, then you filtered it again and again? Knowing what you're doing with it. Some people don't like to see that cloudy stuff in there. Someone went, I just want to see honey. Okay, that is honey. And then describe to them what that honey is. Pasteurized is anything that you heat it up. So if you take your honey and you heat it up above 140 degrees, then it's not, it has all, you killed all the beneficials out of it. The only thing it is that what? The sweet at that point.
How long do you get? What's the time frame?
I knew someone like you would ask me that. I have heard from, if you ask Larry Connors says,
4 hours, 5 hours.
Larry Connors says 2 hours at 130 degrees. Solar melter, okay? Solar melter, what do you get, that brown honey, and what do they call it? Baker's honey. But baker's honey, even though we know what it is, baker's honey you can sell for $12 to $14 a pound. And they go, wow, you made some special honey. Yes, I did. No different than taking a 5-gallon bucket of honey and setting it in your garage. And it gets all cream. What'd you do? Well, I made this special batch. And I put it in this container and I put it in the refrigerator for you and it's all cream. How do you like? Oh, it's like $20 a container. Oh, I buy it. People at the winery used to come up and pat me on the back. Oh, that's the best cream honey we've ever had. Great. All it is my wife leaving it in the garage. We can just go. Yes, sir.
You may want to warn them, you start losing about 25% of the amino acids at 103 degrees Fahrenheit already.
Yes.
In steps, 103, 113, 126 Fahrenheit. So
Jim,
it's not,
Jim too has told me up to 150, anything up to 150, instantly start killing everything off.
Yeah, but where's it, is it 98, 100, I heard 108.
120,
Yeah, but 108 starts it, or no?
103 starts.
103.
Starts it?
I've heard, and as a Montana master beekeeper, it was on our test and I failed it. And they're like, why? And I said, I've heard all the big wigs tell me something different. I would say anything that's above the hive itself. Anything that we use in the mite away, the heaters, was at 105 and it killed all the mites. So anything above that, you're starting to melt wax and you're starting to unprocess something that's supposed to be nice and cool. The bees are self-regulating moisture content and everything else.
You know, hey Jamie, I
Yes, sir.
noticed, the, low temperature warmers that you buy, like from Italy,
Yep,
like ours have an upper limit on them of 103 degrees, they won't go above that.
yeah, Tim, our hive used to have a warmer, it was a 72 quart igloo, I think it was. You put a 5-gallon bucket in, you put a light bulb underneath,
The mix.
and I used to set mine for 95. It took 6 days to do it,
Yeah,
but I knew it wasn't reaching that upper.
Yep.
The container choice. I want you to think about seeing, have you guys ever had a honey tasting contest in your club? And seeing everybody else's container?
it's been a while.
All right, have a contest, everybody bring in your container. Why do you use that container? Because it has a niche. So it's a honey bear. Mine is either pints or quarts, all I sell. Number one, I got tired of having little 2-ounce bears. Who loves filling them little things up? I have a wedding and I need 200 of them. Here's the honey, here's the bucket, here's the bottle, you do it. It got to be a pain. But when you go somewhere, no different than Heinz 57, Aunt Jemima syrup, you know it by eyesight. Over in our area, we have Carlin Honey, CH, and it's kind of interlocked with this little logo. You walk into anywhere in Defiance and I say, Carlin Honey. Oh, I know that honey. Because his wife puts his little bow on there with a little tag and he dresses it all up. This is your marketing right here. Do what does something that offsets you from somebody else. Your honey's probably not better than somebody else's, but you give it the appearance When anybody tastes it, they instantly, you have the best honey. Why? Because I'm right next door to her. And I can go right over to her house. And then what's the first thing that hit that sugar hits my mouth? Oh, you have the best honey in the world. Does she really have the best honey?
Yeah.
She does? Absolutely. And when they tell you that, you get do that with a nice proud face, and yes, I do. I try and take care of my bees, I try and take care of the borough, I take care of truckers, and tell them all the things you do. If you make it sound easy, they're gonna make it sound like, right now, I got H&I have 31 employees at H&R Block. All those people do is sit on a computer and type things. Yeah.
I beg to differ.
But believing in your product is picking the one that is right for you and dress it up. The Google FDA, FDA.org, has the guidance for the industry. And it's a loose because it's not, we're not talking, the law is closed. This is if you start getting a little bit bigger. And this is not the cottage laws. The FDA laws, now we're getting in the guidance for the industry. 75% of the honey must be yours. And I know some people look at each other and go, well, I buy honey from so-and-so, and I buy honey from so-and-so, and I buy this honey, and it's your product. If you're gonna swap honey for orange blossom honey or do something, that's fine. But when we're talking having your business, your product, 75%. The FDA label laws regulations, this gets kind of wordy, and I'll be absolute honest with you, but understand what it means to have, you know, what product, what you're labeling. For us, it's the Ohio label law, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Use and means is honey, a thick, sweet, syrupy substance that bees make as a food, as the nectar of plants, and the secretion of living parts of plants and stored in honeycombs. Other than that, the rest of it is blah, 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 blah. Because they're looking at, you know, like Stoller's in my area. Of all 88 counties, I sit Defiance County, Williams County is right underneath me. He runs 18 to 24 semis of bees that I have to inspect. You know, he's buying it, he's doing it by the barrel or the square totes of honey. But when you're getting into that, yes, you're getting into USDA. For 90% of the people in here, you're probably all under 50, 60 hives and down, correct? Anybody above that? Okay, and you're all in the cottage law. Define the cottage law, type in Ohio Department of Ag, or you can put in honey, label, Ohio, and it'll pop right up. Right down here is the attachment underneath, or you can go to agraohio.gov. Again, the download's right below it. No licensing required of 75% and below. Now, if I start buying a barrel of honey from somebody and I start doing this little side gig, yeah, you can fly underneath the radar. But if somebody comes down to brass tacks and go, okay, how many hives you got? I got 5 hives. Oh, when you go to the Fort Wayne flea market and sell, you know, 75 containers a day. Oh, yeah. You know, at least be honest with your clients and what's going on. Use good manufacturing processes, and we'll talk about a lot about that here in a minute. Is that the kitchen you want to bottle your honey?
No.
Having a nice, clean, sterile area. Clean bottles. Either in the dishwasher upside down, let them drip dry, or steam dry. You can do pints and quarts, and I'll get this question every once in a while. You can do pints and quarts if somebody brings them back to you, but wash and sterilize them at least twice. You know, you got everything out of it. But clean counters, bottles, counters, utensils, and washing your hands. We all know that little thing where you see someone go into the restroom, come back out, and the hands are dry. You know, think about that on the other side. Do you want to turn around and be at a restaurant, and you watch the cook go in there and do his thing and come out and go, yeah. Check, please. Bottling your honey, permitted in Ohio, and we're talking Ohio, so we're right in this group. Use clean bottles. We all know honey warms up, the warmer the honey gets, the faster it goes, right? Who's ever sat behind your bottler and went like this and went? Yeah, it'll get there, it'll get there. Warming that bottle, if you have a warming jacket, warmer on that, or you can warm the room up for a couple days. So if you got an excess heater or a garage or a zone, you can go around and do that. And the bubbles will all settle out. Labeling your raw honey. This is what we need. The identity is the common name. So again, Ohio honey, raw honey, spring honey, flower honey. Whatever you want is that common name is what it's going to be. The net quantity is in ounces and grams. And I'm going to tell you that it's just easier to do the net or the pounds and the grams, because if you sell it off-site or on-site, you don't need the ounces. But what's the chances that all of a sudden, and go out to a health food store or go out to a gym or somewhere and go, hey, can I turn and put a couple bottles of honey out here? Yeah, go ahead. There's tons of, how many times have you been in a store and they got a little shelf off the side and they're selling goods for somebody else? Wholesale it to them. Lower your prices a little bit and try and let them sell it. Now you got another outlet. But who needs more bees? Who wants more hives? Who gets more hives no matter what? In the spring, who has more queen cells? Ah, that's because you're not checking your bees. Gotcha. And the statement of responsibility, it must have your name or your business name, the address, in the city, state, and zip. I have never in my entire life, I've even asked Dwight Wilson about this. He's a third generation beekeeper. Have you ever seen anybody come back and say, I got sick with honey? And he says, the worst is he actually sold enough to a kid, and the kid ate the whole 1 pound container and then got a bellyache, and his mom said, he's sick of it. Yeah, he's probably sick. But no one's ever, but on the label laws, it has to have that statement of responsibility. Your labels are as important as your bottles. Whoever turned around and sees these little kids or beekeepers, and Carlin Honey's really good about this. He's got 2 boys that are 3 and 5, and they're in these little suits and they hold up the product. And what do? Come on, women. Oh. I do the same thing with my granddaughter. Katie, hold the honey. She's a little cute little 13-year-old. What's everybody do? Oh. Because of what? Right here, you're getting inside somebody's head. You're marketing to that with your special logo, your special brand. You know, if you go to Better Bee has all these logos. Do you want the same logo as someone that's selling it, the same thing down the street or within your club? Come up with your own logo. Kids nowadays can get on the computer, they can come up with 500 different clip art and things like that. Or if you really want to get special about this, and this is kind of your side gig or side hustle, get somebody in that is going to make you a logo and say, hey, I want my logo on my shirt. I want a bumper sticker. I want stickers to hand out. I want it on my vehicle as a magnet, and I want it on all these different sizes. Then get somebody somewhat professional into it or a professional person to get graphics. Added value products, cut comb, chunk honey. Who does chunk honey? That is a freebie, absolute freebie. Take your containers, wide mouth, take a frame, foundation, put a starter strip in it, and just cut it out whatever size and put a chunk of honey in that and then fill it up with liquid honey. You will have people, and here's the trick, put 2 or 3 up on the counter, put the rest underneath in a box. People come over and hold it and go, oh, I'll take this one. Well, there's only 1 or 2 left. 2 more. There's a gig to that. I used to do the Hicksville Christmas
Christmas
cruise through. I used to do it with chunk honey, and it was all the chunks that I didn't like that would not fit in this. Or that would look, who's ever seen cut comb that has the wave in it? So, you know, when you're really doing cut comb, you want something that's nice and thin with a midrib dead center. So if you have that wavy stuff, or who's ever supposed to put 10 frames in a 10 frame box and you forgot a frame? and the bees built the foam comb for you. If it's a honey frame, cut it all up, put it in chunk honey. Creamed honey, same way. The best way to do that for creamed honey, you can get a starter from Man Lake or Dayton. Take a mortar and pestle and grind it up. The smaller the particulates, you want creamed honey that's gonna sit in your tongue, and you take your tongue and run it against the roof of your mouth. You don't wanna feel anything sharp. Nice and nice. If you find somebody who's in your own club or somebody who has one, say, I'll buy a container from you. She buys it for me. I take it home, I warm my honey about 98 degrees. I take her starter, mix it in with mine, and just guess what I just made? Her same thing. Put it in a container, put it in a wine refrigerator at 57 degrees. You ever seen the wine refrigerators? Set it for 57 degrees. You'll have like that. It'll crystallize. It's the perfect temperatures to crystallize. I one time, who knows Nina Bagley? Know Nina? She turned around and sold her honey, her creamed honey one time. She's gonna sell it at Ohio State Fair. And I said, oh, I'll take some of that off your hand. And she goes, you will? I said, yeah. It was like peanut butter. Put it on your tongue, just melt in your mouth. 2 weeks later, Dwight Wilson goes, hey, Nina, Jamie made a whole 5-gallon bucket out of your turkey. She never sold me any creamed honey after that. Infused honey. Anything infused, use dry herbs or dry, orange slices, whatever you're gonna do it, make sure it's dry. The extra moisture content in there, if your honey, what's the fermentation of honey? When we look through the refractometer, what's our point? 18.1. Perfect. If you had your honey at about 17 and it drew, remember, honey is hygroscopic. It's constantly, if you leave it open, it's constantly pulling in moisture. So if all of a sudden I stuck in some other live or infused things that had moisture to it, what takes that and kicks it over and starts botulism? So dried stuff, cinnamon sticks, put them in there, flip your container about every other week. Taste a little bit. Yeah, that's a little bit. It has a small taste to it. And then again, try your market. Do 2 or 3 jars with that, and then do 2 or 3 jars with the other. Yes, sir.
Have you used freeze-dried powder?
Dave?
No, not yet.
I'm doing. Kind of starting it with orange, and I didn't know, looking kind of for a starting point. I know it's all trial and error, but I was trying to reduce the air part.
We've done about every dried herb in the world. In fact, if there's a fire at 7:30 Deerwood Drive in Defiance, my garage is toast and the condo is gone. We have dried herbs hanging from the rails in the garage. But she takes all of those, puts them in 5-gallon buckets and flips the buckets. Da, 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 da. But you will always get a different taste each time. So when you make these recipes up and somebody goes, I really like that. Don't go, oh, how'd you make it? "Oh, I don't know." Write down, even if you screwed it up, write everything down. I did this for 2 weeks. I did this. This was the moisture content of my honey. Moisture content will have a huge play in it. What was the temperature that it sat at? That has a huge place in it.
What-
Yes,
what's
sir.
I've heard like 30 days on the infused cinnamon stick.
30 days is a good base to start with. I've heard other people going as far as 4 or 5 months. Other people, Carlin Honey does like 15 or 20 days. But he does elderberry, dried elderberries. They've got a solar heater. And he does all the berries and all that stuff and then dries them down and then puts them in.
So I'm using the salon. Cinnamon sticks and smash them. There's a guy on UK that did it that way.
But then filtering it. to get
I haven't
the
got that
chunky-
far. Oh, yeah, well, I will, but
Okay.
I'm still
And,
mixing it actually every day. I go in and stir it instead of.
and here's the thing, you were asked about timelines and Jamie was giving you some different time. When you're using herbs and stuff, to do, tinctures or you're doing it to infuse your honeys or, using your, vegetable glycerin and stuff, to make different things. A good rule of thumb is 4 to 6 weeks. But make certain that you're flipping it, you know, flipping it, stirring it, whatever you need to do. And keeping it in a darker area, because you don't want the sunlight getting to it
Yeah,
too.
it's in the pantry and I got a screw on lid.
Yeah.
It's.
Yep.
And just,
I stir it. I
Every
can't flip
day?
it, but I stir it.
I was gonna say, if you can, instead of stirring it every day, just go and flip it. And if you're walking back by that room, go, just take that detour and go in and flip it again that day. You know, how many other times, but on your herbs and stuff, when you're infusing. I don't wanna say the smallest, so not powder, but the more, surface area that is opened up. So taking a cinnamon stick that might be 5 feet long and cutting them into like half inches or, you know, quarters or whatever pieces, you got more surface area that, for that flavoring to come out in.
That's a little border.
And that would work, just be careful of the powder part of it. You know, because otherwise you're not gonna be able to really filter that powder out so much.
Then bring it in for a tasting contest.
Yeah.
And bang.
My next thing is to buy a.
You know, and Peggy Garnes uses rosemary. And against the back of her house is, I mean, rosemary growing, she just goes and just grabs them all, dries them out, throws them all in. And then she goes to the farmer's market and that's the hottest selling item. Rosemary to me is,
Do you restrain the honey after you use the herbs or do you keep them in there?
I've seen both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some markets, you'll have it in it. Where those people want to taste them herbs and there's other people that strain it out and then they just have the label.
Some of it probably depends on what they're gonna use it for. Because if they're using it, like the
To cook.
rosemary, if we, right, to glaze a ham or, you know, some sort of meat or whatever. They might want that rosemary in there, you know, to help with that.
Bee bread is taking honey, putting in pollen, and making it, keep flipping it until it turns into a goo. Sports people, runners, things like that, baseball, football, they all know, and they call it goo. And it's bee bread in a straw with honey mashed up till it's absolute slimy. And it's a sugar high. Flavored honey with the cottage foods laws, exempt from inspection. Again, you can make it right in your house. Keep everything nice, clean and sterile. But you can only sell it in Ohio as per the law. We're making it in Ohio, you can't go from here and go up to Michigan and sell it. As per the law. Now, if you do it and I don't know about it, you have no idea. Or if you sell it in between them, unlabeled, and let them label it, wholesale it out. agroohio.gov covers all the cottage food laws. And that covers 90% of what you do and what we're doing in the bee industry. That covers all the products also. Again, on the labeling on this, cinnamon honey. So right there's your label. Cinnamon honey. Specialized cinnamon honey. Fantastic cinnamon and honey. Throw in add a little adjective in there. Everybody does it on marketing. Here's a kicker. The ingredients are the importance of level, the amount. So honey is the biggest amount. So that goes first. Cinnamon after that. Let's say you put in raspberries or something in after that. By weight or volume is the next one in there. Who knows about KFC?
Honey syrup.
Honey sauce.
Oh.
So tonight,
Sorry, that's across the street at least.
tonight I had it. So here's what they have in their honey that comes first. Is corn syrup first, high fructose corn syrup second, sugar third, honey fourth, and then natural artificial flavors. So when someone says, ooh, this is honey, what is it? It's junk.
I have a question here.
Yes, sir.
That says this product is home produced,
Yes, that must be in there.
even for straight honey or just?
Not straight, this is anything blended.
Okay.
This is flavoring. So
Okay.
this is flavoring, you're gonna try and add something to it or manipulate it around it to be something special. Because the production side of it is not just straining and doing what we do with honey. You're altering it and adding something to that honey.
Yeah, someone told me you have to have it even with straight honey, so.
No, not with straight honey. But again, if you want it, if you start getting this into a market, put it in pounds and ounces. That way you don't have to worry about changing it later on or trying to take a marker and draw things in. Your business, the responsibility, and then in Ohio. So there's the name, the ingredients, the name of the business, and the amount. And then that is if you process it with something else. So what's your name?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike. Mike's Terrific Cinnamon Honey. Marketing. Here's my biggest that I love. And I hate it at the same point. Who's ever been to a car show or a home show, and you got the person in the booth and they're on their phone like this? You walk by and they go, hi. Does that give you any energy to buy their product or look at their product? Even if you're shy. Hi, ma'am. Here, would you like to try a little bit of honey?
Yes, thank you.
Be that little bit of extra. Because if she's on the border, well, there's also honey down here and honey down here. This is the best tasting honey.
Is it really?
It is. I have 60 some odd hives. This is how I take care of my bees. I don't use hard chemicals. I don't use this, but here's what I do. I have a queen in there too. And then what's that always lead to? I thought about being a beekeeper, then you spend the next hour, and the queen's in the middle at 94 degrees, and the baby, even when it's cold, and then you start this whole, so that's when you say, hey, honey, help me, help me. But presentation, make yourself the part of the show. And this is, if you're trying to get into this level of it, you want to be the part of the show that has the nice dress shirt on, you got the logo on, you got the hat on, you got whatever, and you're trying to making yourself, you're taking that 51% to let them come in that little bit and go, hey, here's what I have here. Well, everybody's seen that. Here's a product. Oh. And what do? Look at the price. And, well, I have these down here. They're a little bit cheaper. Always have an option. It's a game with people. You guys are the game on the other side. How many like to go car shopping? Yeah. But what's the car dealer do? Well, come in and nice to meet you. I mean, what are you looking for? What's your market? What are you willing to spend? They're playing a game with you. It's no different than you playing the game with your product. And it's about appearance. Who's ever seen a guy with this little card table and he's got honey up? Is he selling anything? Invest into a nice sheet or a nice colored, go to Joann's and get a nice table cover. Put your little logo on the front. Put that little bit extra out there that someone goes, wow, that guy really spent some time, or that lady, she really, oh, look at her booth. Then she's got little flowers over here, she's got little bees over here. Who's ever seen the hexagons, the wood hexagons in the corners? They got little ornaments. What do you do as a beekeeper? Even you have bees, and what do? That's a pretty nice looking booth. And why do you walk up? It's eye appeal. And then what do? Well, how many bees do you have?
Yeah.
And then it's I got more bees than you, or I have less bees than you. Your logo. This is something I don't want you just to have on your label. I want you to eat it, live it, shower it, everything. Put it on your vehicle. Put it on a shirt. If you want to do embroidery, put it on hats. If you have little kids that run around, you make some shirts and hats for them. Where do you get honey from? I get honey from my grandpa. Who has the best tasting honey? My grandpa does. It's a marketing game. If this is eye appeal, it's no different than Carlin honey. It's just a C and an H that are kind of welded together. You see C and H, everybody knows Carlin honey, and they go absolutely crazy. And he's all over Defiance. But if I see that little bee, I know that's Rosemary's honey. She has that bee. I've seen that logo. She has it on her shirts. She has it out on her vehicle out front. She has it on the door magnets. She has no business cards with it. And why does she get real popular? Well, she has all that stuff. She must have a superior product. What if she goes to a couple honey shows and get a couple ribbons? Take a picture of the honey in the front, put ribbons in the back, just out of focus a little bit, but you can see them. And next thing you know, she is the queen bee in this area. If you really want to get into this and have a marketing name, your business name, go to the Secretary of State, search by business name, and type in your business name that you want. You don't have to have something that's just blank. But this is gonna tell you if there's anybody, so if all of a sudden you're thinking, man, I'm getting up to a sideliner and I'm starting to really make something of this business, I wanna make sure no one else has that same name. So if it's just Be Well, you might get in here and there's Be Well this, Be Well that, Be Well this, Be Well that, Be Well this, and it might not even have anything to do with bees. But then add something else with it. Simply Bee Honey. Then when you hit your search and there's no data, that means you have that unique thing. And that's yours from there on out. On top of that, imaging. And kids get into clip art. I mean, who loves searching the internet? I knew I'd get couple of it, just a few of you. Find something you like and have somebody draw it back out for you, somebody artistic or somebody within the club. Make your logo your own. You can just search bees, go into Google Images, and it has every bee in there in the world. And you can put cartoon bee, you can put line drawing bee, you can put anything. It'll come up with something. You go, okay, I kind of like that bee, but I want it flipped and I want my wording in an arch over the top, or I want it in a square. Think about how that's gonna put on your everything and how you're gonna merchandise that. And then go to tools, you can download all the different sizes. If you're gonna do this, go to size and go to maximum. Find that logo so it's maximum size, so you can edit that and use it. Sometimes the size is this big, and by the time you blow it up, it's pixelated. So who's ever seen a pixelated picture? And all of a sudden it gets real grainy, so if you're trying to use that for something, you can't use it. The tagline, put your honey where your mouth is. You know, this, you could really get into this. Carlin's kids are doing this little, his brother says something, and he says something about bees. So they're playing off of this and they're doing little commercials now on YouTube. But the bee's knees, anything you can throw in there, if you have room on your label or room on your shirt, you got your logo, what do you have across the back? Who's ever seen club shirts? What do they always have something on the back? I just bought one in Michigan and it had the formula of honey on the H2, like they broke down the science breakdown of it. Why did I buy a shirt? Because it's cool. It's neat to have that. Because now I wear it, people are like, what's that mean? Well, that means honey. Are you a beekeeper? Yes. And then my wife goes, why do you tell them? Oh, you get into the whole spiel of it. Branding. And what you're making your own brand than anything else that we see. The colors, the logos, the recognition of it, and the social media side of it. If you're not into social media, find a kid that's about 14 and under. They'll show you social media. Formalizing your business, and that shows your credibility. The business name is protected, so if you find other people that do not have that name, that means you're isolated with that name. The marketing and the other perks of it. This is if you decide to go up from here. This is just one step more. If you decide to get into this and get your business name into a business and get an EIN number, that means you're registered with the government, with IRS or the state. A sole proprietor or an LCC. So either one, an LP, LPN, it's a partnership. So if you have, let me go over these quick for some of you. A sole proprietor, who owns their honey business themselves? Okay, sole proprietor. I'm a sole proprietor for Katie's Bees and Honey. That means it's just me, myself, and I'm protected for just me. If I'm gonna get into tons and tons of sales, and I'm gonna start selling nukes and start doing other things, then I might wanna go to a LLC, limited liability. For the fact, what if somebody takes that nuke home and takes their kids out with them and gets the kids stung up and then says they're my bees and wanna come back against me? An LLC cuts your business off from your home. And I'll tell you this as a tax professional also, protect yourself. And I'm not trying to say it to be mean, because someone is more than willing to turn around and sue anybody anymore. So you're gonna turn around, you're gonna say, hey, you can have the honey business, but you're gonna keep my house, my car, my wife, and everybody else, leave them alone. If you're in this in a partnership, this could be husband, wife, or two guys or two girls, they go, hey, we wanna get into this. It's kind of like, Bee Apothecary. There's two couples that bind together that made this. That's an LLP, it's a partnership. I spell out what you do, you spell out what I do, we work together this way.
How's that compared to an S corp? Because I only get S corps.
S corp,
Yeah, that's what I have.
it's all underneath here. It's easy. S corp, okay, now you're getting into getting a regular paycheck. If you were to turn on and let's say you were gonna pull in, and I'm just gonna say 30,000-40,000 a year just from honey sales,
Right.
then I would go into an S corp. For the fact you're S corp, you can pull a paycheck from it every week, every other week, and then you're having your business, but the two are kind of this. As where this is all little people down and underneath. Follow me on that? An S corp is great. I'd love to have an S, I'd love to take my partners out, not literally out. But take my partners out and switch it over to an S corp. Your Ohio Business Roadmap, if you're gonna get into a business, please look this up. It talks about if you're really getting into a business side of this, speak to an attorney, talk to your tax professional, and say, how's this gonna affect me? And how much withholdings am I gonna have, and what do I have to do? Point of sale. You know them, they always get their little % too, so do you have the square, do you wanna sell at a flea market? Do you wanna say, the honey bear is $5 including tax? Then somebody's gonna pay the tax in between, or you're gonna eat it. The liability insurance, this goes on and on. Talk to your homeowners and say, hey, I'm selling honey and I wanna have a honey house. What's this gonna protect and what's it not? Or do I need a separate insurance policy for my honey house and my bee operation? They got conferences, all kinds of different things you can sell it at. And the world is your fate. I mean, go out there, the louder you are in bees, the more people are gonna see it. The more you have a good brand with branding, shirt, logo, stickers, business cards, everything. If you have a good superior product, you're gonna turn around and run amok. Again, OSBA's got the youth scholarship that we do all the way down through that thing. And tonight was brought to you by OSBA. We always have a disclaimer at the end. It means, do I know what I'm talking about? Yes, but you can't sue OSBA. Any questions? Did I at least teach you one thing tonight?
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Oh. On the papers that I filled out, please fill them out honestly. If I taught you something, say, yeah, you done a good job. If I didn't, put a frown face. And if you'll drop them off at my wife in the end, I would greatly appreciate it.
Every day is nice.